Welcome to Vacation Rental Mastery, where your host, Karan Narang, guides you through harnessing vacation rental investments. Whether you're new to vacation rentals or expanding your portfolio, this podcast fuels your path to freedom. Join us in this movement to transform your life. Ready for change and legacy building? You're in the right place. Let's embark on this freedom journey and master vacation rental investing together.
Ed, thank you very much for joining this episode of the podcast. We at this podcast, we love to help people understand how to gain, how to develop, and how to retain their freedoms, whether it be financial freedom, time freedom, location freedom, relational freedom, or impact freedom, and do all of this by investing in short-term rentals. So welcome to the podcast. Thank you very much for joining us. And we hope, we're able to give you a tremendous amount of value through this podcast. So yes, please, Ed, go ahead, introduce yourself to us, and let's take this to the next level.
So thanks for having me on your podcast. My name's Edward. I've been doing, real estate with my wife for the past, 4 years, just basically buying a house, living in it, renting it out. And we've done that 3 times, and then we have a separate property in Houston. I'm learning about multifamily as well right now. I'm in a JV deal in Houston. That's a headache. And let's see. I found out about your podcast and was curious about short-term rentals because I have a number of friends who are currently doing STRs and are having great success. And want to learn more about it.
Awesome. So Ed, welcome. What is your day job? I'm assuming you have another day job because you're just started investing in rentals.
So my day job has been in online marketing. I've been doing online marketing since about 2004, up in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, and then working for some large direct marketing firms and some advertising companies in LA, and then moving to Dallas. I think it was 2 years ago. We're going on 3 years now. So I've been doing that for approximately 20 years and helping small, medium-sized businesses through Google Ads, Microsoft, Facebook, and helping our clients.
Awesome, man. And, so this is a great pivot, right? So you said you moved to Dallas, is that correct?
Correct.
Me too, by the way. I moved to Dallas about 6 years ago now, 2017, moved down to Dallas, and we haven't looked back. I moved from New Jersey. So you know what? All this, transplant of all the people living in the big cities and coming down to Dallas, it's been unbelievable. And it's been a great opportunity for us to come down here and live this life, which has been absolutely phenomenal. Especially I have little kids, so it's been great. Now, you said you're investing in single family homes, and you also have invested in a joint venture in a multifamily property in Houston. Tell me a little more about that. Why a joint venture in a multifamily? What attracted you to that?
One, I wasn't ready to go big. I just don't know enough, and I don't want to make big mistakes with investors' money. So I can make mistakes, smaller mistakes with my money.
Yeah.
I'm a little risk adverse, but I think that failing on a smaller project is okay for us as a family.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just getting those steps in. We actually have 2 LP deals one is struggling, and that's in Tucson, and then the other in Houston, it's a Class A property, is doing extremely well. But this property that I'm a JV in, I actually was approached by some members of a program that I'm in, and so it seemed like at the time a very good deal.
Yeah.
Everything looked right, and then once we got into it, that's when 6 months in later, that's when we realized I think we needed to stress test a little bit more of the underwriting. So
Okay, now is this property the reason it's a problem? Is it because cash flow? Is it not being able to get it occupied? Is it all of the above?
Mhm.
What is the issue?
All of the above. Essentially, we're struggling with occupancy. So um, I think we went a little bit. You get what you pay for. So we had this same experience with the flip that we did. One of the team members in the flip that we did was like talking about, hey, let's get everything for as little as we possibly can pay. And I'll tell you that that never pans out. You never want to go cheap, cheap, cheap. And we did the same thing with this property in terms of property manager. And I don't believe that we're getting 100% of what they would do for us as a property manager. So we're having to make that extra effort and get the property leased out on our own through our own efforts in marketing. And I've had numerous conversations with operators that have significantly more experience than me in order to steer the property management company in the right direction and um, get us on a path that's going to lead to some sort of success.
Awesome. And one of the tips I'll give you here, and hopefully this is your, even if it's just your one takeaway, things that you can think about right now is if your property is if it's at least a Class B, a Class C will not work, but if it's at least a Class B or better, you might want to consider furnishing a couple of these units and renting them out as short-term or mid-term rentals. I'm working with several large multifamily investors right now to help them convert these units and put in place the systems and processes to run some of these units as short-term rentals. The reason I think this is a game changer in the space for multifamily is in today's interest rate environment, having positive cash flow, you and I both know that for multifamily, a couple points on the interest rate can make a huge difference in the deal. It's either going to work or it's not, right?
Mhm.
None of your investors want to see a loss. They
Mhm.
want to be able to see positive cash flow and that the property is performing. You might have an opportunity to take some of those units, convert them into furnished rentals. And typically, if you're doing short-term rental, my target is to do 2x, minimum of 2x per unit in rent for a short-term versus a long-term. So let's say it's supposed to do $1,000 a month in rent. At minimum, you should be able to generate 2,000 a month in rent. Of course, there's other factors that go along with it. There's operational things, but if you are able to do that, and you don't have to go crazy furnishing these properties, right? These are, you're going to spend a little money to test it out. I'm actually working with some large investors right now to help them test this out, this model. And these are people who own thousands of units, right? Thousands of doors, and they're trying to convert a good chunk to see if this experiment actually works. And I'm a strong believer that this will work. It actually will. I think it is even allowing people to go acquire these properties in this higher interest rate environment while making sure that they can actually cash flow and really go make those deals happen. Because we know that when these interest rates go down, the valuation of these properties, the demand for these properties will go up, and you can actually go out and refi these properties into something different. No guarantee that the rates are going to go down, but if it does happen, you have a way to get that valuation up at some
Mhm.
point. So I think this is a strong possibility for you if you're in the Houston market. I also happen to know that the Houston market is pretty big on the medical front. So if
Mhm.
you can furnish the units and if you're close to a hospital or university or something, right, especially in an urban area, definitely think about furnishing it. And if you want to go into more details around it, we can discuss after this call. But I do believe that is a great opportunity for you. Again, I want to be able to help you overcome the immediate pain that you're facing, so it frees up your mind to take the next big step and move forward into other directions if that's what your heart desires.
Mhm. That's a really good point there. Would I be able to, even with the small apartment that it's technically a Class C, but it's actually a very nice looking Class C. It's an older property. Would that be something that I could even consider as a doing short-term rentals, furnishing it out? I'm just curious how difficult it would be to get people in there that are traveling. I just have to canvass schools or hospitals with flyers.
Yeah, so we do this all the time, right? When I talk about the systems and processes required to run it as a short-term rental, right? Or a midterm, even a midterm rental. The marketing is a little different. The way you target these customers is different. The marketplace is different, right? You're not going
Mhm.
and putting it on apartments.com or some of these other places. So again, a lot of it is dependent on the property, the location, the pricing, and even just for starters, I'm telling you, I don't know what these price points are, what kind of properties these are, right? We can
Mhm.
certainly walk through it in detail, but I do believe that if you furnished it modestly, because you said this is a class C, but it seems like upper class C towards a B, it could be a very economical, budget friendly
Mhm.
midterm to a short-term rental, and that there is a demographic and a market for it, right? So it's
Mhm.
something that you should certainly evaluate further. I do believe that there is a possibility. It'll help you ease your concerns a little bit, help you elevate the pain, just to kind of you'll feel a little better if you give it a shot. I don't think you have
Mhm.
much to lose. You know what? Are these one bedrooms? Are these two bedrooms? What is this?
We have one bedrooms and two bedrooms.
A one
So,
bedroom apartment that is a modest level apartment does not take more than, let's say, 10 grand to furnish. 10 to 12,000 is what I'd budget, right? Take two of these units if they're vacant. I've even helped people rent out this furniture for a few months to test it out. Okay. It all depends on how hard you want to go in on experimenting this. You can rent out the
mhm.
furniture to furnish the whole place, and it's maybe, 400 or 500 bucks a month for a one bedroom or a two bedroom thing, right? It's not ideal because it doesn't allow you to truly bring in that short-term rental crowd, but it's worth a shot. Give it a shot. I think you will come out ahead, especially in Houston. I know
Mhm.
that market pretty well, and I think you'll come out ahead.
So how many days did you say was that 30, 60, 90-day test?
Now, if you're going to test this out, I'd give it at least 6 months.
Okay, 6 month
Because yeah,
test.
I would furnish this and I would give it 6 months to see what the performance is. Here's what I think is going to happen, right? And I'm just going to use round numbers because I'm not sure what your numbers are. Here's what I think is going to happen. Okay,
Mhm.
your let's say your annual rent is supposed to be $1,000 a month, 12,000 a year, right? I would go out of my way to even say that I think even with you may only have that unit occupied, and I never underwrite for more than 60% in a short-term rental scenario. You may only have it occupied for 60%, but I think you'll go better than your 12,000 a year, if you know what I mean, if the
Mhm.
equivalent of your long-term rent. So now the way I look at it is even if the remaining 40% doesn't book, right? That's open space that has the potential of getting booked, right? Every dollar
Mhm.
beyond that is bonus, right? So
Absolutely.
that's where it's worth the experiment, especially for people with multifamily. I think there is a lot of value in testing it out. And every market's different, every property is different. The way you decorate the property is going to be different. So a test, if you have multiple units and some of them are sitting vacant, give it a shot. What do you have to lose?
Absolutely. Let me ask you, what what kind of an impact, or how can I identify the quality of the location of the property? So that could be a challenge, I know, with short-term rentals. You're always looking for these, cabins on lakes, or at least my one of my friends is always finding cabins on lakes, and he's having great success with that. But with an apartment that maybe in a ordinary area of Houston, what does that look like?
Let me put it this way. If you think that's the only place people go to Airbnbs, I disagree with that because those are the places that became really popular in the last 3 years because of COVID. Oh, I want to go to the lakes, I want to go to the mountains, I want to go to the beach. But
Mhm.
what's still very prevalent is travel to urban areas. Urban short-term rentals are very prominent, still there, except they became very difficult to run and operate during COVID because travel to these urban centers reduced. So once again, what I would be more than happy to do for you is to send me your a link to the property, send me the address information, let me analyze and get back to you as to what I think that property is capable of doing. Okay, from an annual gross revenue perspective, to help you understand, is this experiment even worth it? So we will have to dive deeper to take a look at it, but I do believe there's an opportunity there for you.
Fantastic. I would love to explore that actually.
And especially, you're not acquiring a new asset to go test this out. It's an existing asset that's already struggling, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, you know what the hell, give it a shot. So send it to me. I will absolutely take a look at it and get back to you. Okay.
Fantastic.
Awesome. So great conversation. I love that we were able to go through the strategy early on in this call. So that's absolutely spectacular. I feel like I've been able to give you some value there, and we'll take it to the next level. Let me go into and look into more. Okay. Now, tell me about your other interest in short-term rentals, because you said you're curious about it and you've got friends who are doing this. And would you say, generally speaking, they're successful? They're having good success with this? They're happy with it?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, I see a lot of, I get a lot of joy. I see a lot of joy from them. They're digging in, they're doing the research. They're sending me properties to look at with them, and it's kind of fun. It's like going through the wholesaler's list of properties when they email you, seeing if the numbers work.
Yeah.
And then when they get the properties, they show all the steps that they're taking to make it something really attractive, something that people want to spend time at. And that to me is pretty exciting. It's interesting to see the creativity come out from the different people that are doing it, and making something that I would want to stay at, take my family to.
So you bring up a very important point, okay? And this was one of the factors in me deciding to get into short-term rentals. Of course, there are other factors. There's financial factors, there's taxes and all that stuff. There's a number of different benefits to it.
Mhm.
But right when I got into short-term rentals, I also had a couple long-term rentals, okay? And night and day difference in, one, the people I was dealing with, two, their attitude towards me and towards the rental, three, the experience I was creating for them, right? So let's talk about this a little bit. Long term, right? I have someone in there who could be a really painful tenant, and I have to deal with them for a year. Short term, guess what? More than likely you're gone on Monday morning, which I love, right? You can be hell for me all weekend, and it could be really painful to deal with you. Now, again, luckily for me, I have a team who deals with that, and I don't need to deal with it. But even if I had to, you're gone on Monday or maybe Tuesday at most, right? It's great. So I can force myself to be really nice to you for 48 hours, knowing that you're going to be gone. But if I'm stuck with a really painful tenant for a year, that's a little bit of a problem. Two, rather than just giving people a shelter over their heads, which they deem to be a necessity, which I agree with, and it's they're all dreaming of, hey, someday I'm going to buy my own place. I'm renting a place, I'm buying my own place someday, right? They can't wait to get out of there, generally speaking, right? I would rather give people a place where they're going away, having this absolutely spectacular experience with their friends, with their family, they're having a great time, and they never want to leave. Which one's better, man? I'll tell you, do you want the person who can't wait to leave and go buy his own place, or do you want the one where they're creating these memories? And for some of these people, this is their one annual vacation. Saved up all year to go stay at this place, just want to spend time with friends and family, want to reconnect, and I never want to leave. And that's the experience that I want to create, right? We love travel as a family. We travel the world. We've had some of the greatest, we've had the fortune of being able to experience some of the most amazing things in the world. And that's been spectacular, right? It's the time my family and myself, we connect the deepest, is when we spend time together, travel, right? There's a lot of people who are trying to do exactly that, and they're coming to stay at our places. So our goal is to make sure we're able to create that experience for them, right? So to me, the type of guests I'm dealing with is very different. One, I'm working on trying to get them positive memories. The other one is, hey, I need a shelter over my head, so I'm going to rent your place or whatever, right? The other thing that's really important is in my short-term rentals, I have eyes on the property every week. My cleaners go in, my maintenance guys go in, and I know that my property is always maintained really well versus a long term where, hey, you know what? I go in 6 months later at a landlord, walkthrough or whatever, and who knows what I find, right? Uh, that's been one of the concerns. The other thing for me is, what I would think about is from a cash flow perspective, and you know this because you're dealing with this right now. You lose rent for a month, and there's a possibility that your unit is cash flow negative, correct? You got to put in a new HVAC, your cash flow is negative. The short-term rental, and here I am sitting and talking to you about 40% vacancy on short-term rentals, and you're like, this guy's out of his mind, right? I never underwrite for more than 60% because I'm a little more cautious that way.
Mhm.
So to me, having a short-term rental allows me the flexibility to go and improve the property, to do things better. If I have to go in and put in a new water heater, it's not going to crush my return, right? So that's why I said, hey, I'm going to pivot. I'm going to get into these short-term rentals, and it's been absolutely spectacular for me. So yes, it is a really rewarding venture. It is a real business, right? It ends up, depending on how big of a scale you want to make it, it ends up being a hospitality business, right?
Mhm.
So there's a lot to it, but one of the things that's been really good for me is I've been able to use it to truly unlock my freedoms, right? I was able to get financially free. I quit my job. December 31st was 2023 was my last day at a W-2 job. Never again. Okay. Helping someone else build their vision is not what I'd love to do with my time, right? I am trading my most valuable asset, which is my time, for a lesser valuable asset, which is the money. Really grateful for it, but not anymore, right? So, financial freedom, time freedom. I wake up in the morning and say, who do I want to talk to today and what do I want to work on? And there's a whole list of things. My wife tells me I'm working way harder today than I was at my W-2 job, right? And the reason is that I have the flexibility to do what I want, as much or as little as I want, depending on how far I want to go. But it's my time, right? Talk about location freedom. We spent almost 8 weeks on the road, maybe 7 weeks on the road traveling. And we traveled to places like India, Cambodia, Thailand, Indonesia, Peru, Argentina, Chile, right? This is just all in 1 year. My kids are 9-11 and they've been to 24 countries, right, in the world. So 6 continents, 24 countries. That's the kind of location freedom we want. I can go away for an entire month and my team can run my entire business that does 7 figures a year. So that's the kind of flexibility. That's what we want to have in place. Relational freedom. If I don't want to work with someone, if I don't want to truly spend my time with someone, if I feel that person's being a negative influence in my life and is bringing down my energy, I don't need to work with them. So that's where, to me, this whole thing of short-term rentals comes. It doesn't just give you a few $100s a door per month. It allows you to take this stuff and truly, if you invest your time and effort, take things to the next level where you can enjoy all of these things. And I bet some of your friends are absolutely enjoying this today.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And then I'm enjoying just looking at what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah,
So, and understanding the steps that's required to get it done, to create that
absolutely.
experience.
Absolutely.
So,
Now, so let me ask you this, Ed. We've spoken a lot about, short-term rentals. You seem to be really interested in it. What's next for you? Where do you want to go with this? Do you have a vision to get into the space? Is this something you'd like to achieve? Is this like something you'd like to do? Is this a 2024 goal, 3 to 5 year goal? What's your plan?
actually, that's a good question. I'd like to have a goal for this year. The thing, The one easy opportunity here is that we have the 3 properties that we can do that. It's thinking, okay, which one of those properties would make the most sense that we convert? We have one that's, well, actually 2 of them are close to a school, a hospital, and a few other kind of interesting things in that particular area. Both are in the LA area. So that's where we're thinking maybe one of them we could turn into a short-term rental. So it's just identifying which one makes the most sense and how does that look? What do we need to do? And you know,
And once again, it becomes a matter of testing out the waters.
Mhm.
Now, here's a couple things I'm going to give you, right? Again, trying to give you some value in
Mhm.
return for your time. Evaluate carefully what you think that property can bring in as revenue. And the reason I'm saying is the LA market, while being a good market, may not be giving you the maximum return on your equity. Okay, I don't know how much equity there is. The properties, if you own them a long time, may have been appreciated quite a bit, and you may want to find a way to unlock that equity and invest that money, reinvest that money into properties that were acquired for the purpose of being short-term rentals. And the reason I say that is I see this happen all the time. People say, "Oh, I have a property there. Let me furnish it and see if I can make it a short-term rental."
Mhm.
Okay. While that's a good test, and I think you'll at least make the same money you're making as a long-term rental, if not more, you're not truly going to enjoy or truly have a good view of the possible outcomes of a short-term rental, because you never acquired it to be a short-term rental,
Mhm.
right? If it was intentionally acquired to be a short-term rental and has those characteristics of being a good fit for a short-term rental, even if it is in an urban market, right? Even if it is not by a lake, and that's okay, but that intentional investment in a property to make it a short-term rental will always give you the best and most positive experience from investing in a short-term rental. So if you go into this and say, hey, I'm going to convert one of the existing units, nothing wrong with it. But keep your expectations at the right level, knowing that there is a possibility you're not going to get the best possible results of this experiment. It's an experiment again, an existing property you convert. As long as you go in with your eyes open, you'll be okay. Now, what you have an opportunity there is you can use this existing property that you know so well, and it's a known market, and you have all that to basically implement your systems and processes and have them ironed out through an existing property versus a brand new property. Okay, so you have an opportunity there to make that happen, and you can get to it pretty quick. And that could prepare you to truly go get this short-term rental property that you might be interested in, right? So something to think about there.
So one of the things you were just saying was the first option, I believe, was that we could sell the property, redeploy it in multiple properties to build up our
Or one,
short-term rental space.
or one,
Or one.
right? Or one. And I don't know what the property is, what it's priced at, or how much equity you have. But, we often, and this has been a kind of a new learning for me as well, right? I often look at it and say, what's my return on investment? How much cash did I put in, and what's the return on that cash? But what I've learned from some of the other members at GoBundance, by the way, is that while cash on cash return is important, what is the one thing that's going to help you grow is cash on equity, your return on the equity. If you're sitting on a hugely appreciated asset, can you unlock it and truly invest in something so much bigger that your returns are going to be completely different? So something to look at. And again, case by case basis, you're not necessarily, it's not a one answer for everyone. That's the thing with these rentals, right? With short-term rentals especially, there's no one size fits all. With long-term rentals, I can generally look at an area. I can look at a class of an apartment, class B, C, A. I can look at the finishes, and I can say within $50, I can say, okay, this is how much I'm going to be able to make in a month, right? This is what my rent can be. Short-term rentals is so different, right? There is an art to it. There's a science in getting the systems and processes in, but there's an art to it that you need to implement. You need to go look at it and really be able to understand, is this something that's really going to work? So again, property by property, case by case, and I'm happy to look at those properties for you and give you my opinion, purely my opinion, because if I guarantee you something, I'd be lying. Short-term rentals are all about playing with it. Many times it takes a good 3 to 6 months to even fine-tune it, to get it performing like it should, till we truly understand, because human behavior is so different, how people come to that property, what attracts them to the property. We have guidelines and we've done a lot of things. We have a lot of experience around it, but to truly dial that property in, to figure out exactly what's going to bring those guests in, what's that experience they're looking for, takes a little while. So as long as you have the patience and are willing to commit the time, I have no doubt this can be successful.
So what are the processes that we need to get in place, or systems that we need to think about, start thinking about, that we're going to have to build into each STR?
So the minimum required, and it's not each STR, the minimum required, I focus on 3 absolutely critical systems, okay? One is what we call it's either a channel manager or a property management system, which is the back end. This is the core or the hub of all your operations that basically take your one property and send it to VRBO, send it to Airbnb, and also sends it to your own direct booking website, right? So it's basically a central hub that makes sure your calendars are in sync, and when a booking comes in on VRBO, it blocks out Airbnb. Now, a lot of people think they should only do this if they have multiple properties. I do believe it's best to have it when you have even just one property, because you have multiple channels. It gets very complicated very quick. And that's when you hear people saying, oh, I got a double booking. I booked on Airbnb and then someone booked on VRBO, and now I'm in a world of pain because I got to cancel one of them, right? We don't want that. So it's that channel manager or property management system that is the core of everything. The second system that's absolutely critical, whether or not you implement channel manager or not, is a dynamic pricing system, okay? This is a system that will typically allow you to manage your pricing like an airline does. If there's an event in town, it bumps up your pricing a little bit. If the demand for properties in your town is higher, it'll bump up prices a little bit for a certain weekend. If the weather is really good and a lot of people coming there, it'll bump up prices, right? So it's that day-to-day fluctuation in pricing that'll be really helpful. So the dynamic pricing system is absolutely important, right? The minimum I like to do is 2 channels, Airbnb and VRBO at minimum. But what I also like doing from day one is to create my own booking website. So we have our own website called AA Stays, that is Adventure Awaits is our brand. And we started with our first property with the brand Adventure Awaits. We launched our first property. We had a direct booking site on day one. And we went, because while we're investing in real estate and investing in this, we're also building a real business, right? So that's what we did. So at minimum, this is your minimum landscape that I have in place. And then there's a lot of other things you can add on and bolt on to make things better and more efficient. We use a system that manages our cleanings and our cleaners, right? So that we don't have to manually coordinate. Today we're managing almost 30 properties, including 9 of our own. It's a little bit of work to coordinate all of this. So having that minimum setup will gear you up for success. And as time goes, you'll keep adding stuff and you'll make things more efficient. Now we're integrating AI into our systems, right? So there's a lot. It's an evolution, and it'll never stop. We'll keep adding more things to it. We'll keep getting more sophisticated, but that's what helps us differentiate with the rest of the market and outperform the market.
So you got me curious. How are you using AI? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so one of the things that we do on a daily basis, so as part of doing or getting your listings to the top, so when you go to Airbnb and you search for a certain market, right, they typically will list, there's a search engine that is smart enough to rank you internally and put you on page 1, page 2, or page 3, whatever it is. One of the factors that is claimed to be really helpful to get ranked higher, because most people, when they go to book the property, will not go beyond page maybe 2 or 3. No one's going to page 10 to find that property, right? So you want to get ranked as high as possible. In order to get ranked as high as possible, you need to stay very active with the listing. A lot of people just put it there, forget it for 6 months and hope the bookings roll in. Never going to happen. So in order to be active with the listings, we actually change the titles every day or almost every day. We change the content of the listing almost every day, right? And we'll change it by season. We have a property that we're managing in Salt Lake City. So during ski season, we'll change the verbiage to attract more skiers coming to the market, coming there. So we're using ChatGPT to change our listing descriptions, to change our titles, to do all of that. What we're also doing, just so you know, from an operational perspective, we've created our own Adventure Awaits Concierge GPT, and we're actively training it right now with our SOPs, with our processes, with all of that, to act not only as our internal knowledge base, but what I'm hoping is at some point, ChatGPT gives us the ability to integrate that into our own website. And now I can provide that to my guests at no additional cost as a concierge service. We're already doing, concierge services. For example, if it's either my properties or the properties I manage, we also manage for others. You have someone available, a phone number that you can text message or call 24/7, right? So I'm hoping I can also give the guests this concierge GPT to be able to answer any questions they have. Hey, what's the Wi-Fi code for this property? We always send it out, but people are always losing that. So we that's where we're taking this now.
So do you have your internal team change the titles, descriptions using ChatGPT on a daily basis? Okay.
Almost daily basis, so again, we'll see how it is. If we find that a certain title is doing better than others, we'll leave it. If a description is working, we'll leave it. If the sequencing of the pictures is working, we'll leave it. So every day we're analyzing these properties and trying to figure out how we're going to make it a little better to optimize.
And you're using the internal metrics from within Airbnb or VRBO in order to optimize your listings?
So we go by a few things. We go by the bookings that are coming in, what our occupancy rate is in the upcoming month, 30, and we have different process to optimize for 30, 60, 90 days. So we have a different SOP for each and how we optimize it. And for example, if it's 90 days out or 120 days out, there's a possibility I'm not dropping my prices too much, right? Because I'm holding out. But now if it's a market that typically books 90 days out, and I am 90 days out and I'm not booked, then I'm going to look at my price and say, am I priced too high? Because every market has a sweet spot. People in that market book, people typically book certain number of days out. Like ski vacations are typically booked a little ways out, right? So this is where understanding the market becomes absolutely critical. The revenue management process is critical. So coming back to your earlier discussion, revenue management is a key part of this. How you manage your revenue, and revenue is a factor of your nightly rates and your occupancy rate, right? And if you're able to optimize the revenue and price the property the right way at the right time where buyers are going to go buy, that's when you can maximize the revenue. It's called pacing. So how far ahead do buyers actually go and book these properties?
And so what markets are you currently in and offering services for other owners?
For other owners, we're in several markets. So we are able to manage this properties almost entirely, all of the US. We haven't expanded outside yet. For example, we're already in California. We're in Texas. We have our own properties as well. Alabama, Pennsylvania, Utah. So we're managing all across the country, right? Remember, the process remains the same regardless of what part of the country you're in. It may take us 60 to 90 days to really dial in the trends in the market, the pricing, the occupancy, the seasonality, the needs of the consumer in that market, right? It may take us 60 to 90 days time to get there, but we're typically able to do it. Because of our model, we can pretty much manage anywhere in the country. So we don't have full-time employees for cleaners and maintenance and all that on the ground. We're basically partnering with local crews to make that happen. Our team coordinates everything. Our team works with the cleaners and the maintenance and all that, but we're identifying really good crews in the local market, typically through our network.
So I guess just like marketing, it's 60 or 30, 60, 90 days to get it going. And then after that, you can determine what the patterns are and how to optimize the
Absolutely.
property best
Absolutely.
to,
Yep.
okay.
Yep. Some of that stuff will be really easy for you because you're a marketing guy, and a lot of this is marketing, right? So I think it'll be easy for you.
I was actually on a call, microtribe, and they were discussing the marketing, and I was really, really, really impressed by the level of detail and expertise that's required just to market the property, to make it attractive, to make it more appealing. Because in some cases, that's the detail that a lot of people are missing.
Yes.
And it really does pay to invest that time into making those changes. But I think it's something that's a skill that's probably takes a lot longer to master.
You're absolutely right. That's a whole different ball game. Since we launched the business, I've known that marketing is absolutely key, right? It's easy to put a property on Airbnb and think we're going to outperform the market, but then you're in a marketplace. A marketplace is going to always be based on the dynamics of the marketplace. There's supply and demand, and then there's a few people who will win, right? That's a marketplace. So our focus from day one has been, how do we grow our branding? How do we grow our marketing? How do we do direct marketing? So today our direct bookings are 22 to 25% of our entire revenue is direct bookings. And in the short-term rental space, I'd consider that to be on the higher end. Most people are not anything close to it, right? Because it's really hard to put a brand out, and it's actually hard to get people to go click on it. Now, we've created a database of previous guests, right? Every guest that comes in, not just the guy who booked on Airbnb, we use a system, an application called StayFi. StayFi essentially gives you the ability to make your Wi-Fi in your property the same as you would do at like a Hyatt or a Marriott, where you got to go put your email address every time a new device logs in, you got to put it in. So we're collecting all these guest emails, right? So our database of previously stayed guests is almost 10,000 people right now. And we're now retargeting the same people over and over again. We're sending them mailers. We're sending them all kinds of stuff to get them to rebook and book direct, and to build that community around our brand, and to build that community around us to help support and continue to make that. Because I'll tell you what, if you came and stayed at one of my properties and you had a phenomenal time and your family had a great time, if I can catch you at that time through my marketing at the right time when you're about to book the property or find another property or planning a new vacation, why wouldn't you come back and stay with us, right? You had a great time. You'd rather pay me a little more to be more certain about what to expect than to go back to Airbnb and filter through thousands of listings. Why care about that, right? So we have taken our marketing to the next level. We're pushing it pretty hard. Actually, we're testing out Go High Level right now to get more marketing for one of our properties. The test case is going to be, we get leads for weddings because we have a property that we allow weddings at. It's a large property that allows weddings, and we sleep people there. And we're getting leads from, it's called Wedding Pro. I don't know if you ever heard of it. Wedding Pro or The Knot. These are the websites. And we get 3 leads a day. In a month, we're getting 100 leads, right? So we're now putting in place the marketing system to be able to go and nurture these leads and convert them into actual bookings.
The whole wedding situation in Dallas is very unique, I think, because you don't get married in a church. They go to these different locations throughout Dallas, and most of the wedding places are booked out a year in advance.
Absolutely.
So are you seeing the same thing with your property? Is it booked out a year in advance?
We're not booked out a year in advance, and we don't desire to be because we like to charge premiums. And we're not a typical wedding property, which is a venue. We're basically a large Airbnb that allows weddings. We have a beautiful view. So we're in the Texas Hill Country, right outside of Austin, right? we allow weddings, which is unique. People from Dallas will go down there to get married. We had one couple that came down from Paris to get married here in the Hill Country, right? I was like, wow, that's spectacular. And how did they even find us? And they were thrilled to do this, right? So absolutely amazing if you can create that experience for someone, because remember, now you're part of their memory for life. Unless that wedding doesn't work out, that's a different topic, right? Then hopefully even then they've enjoyed it so much they come back to get married there again.
Do you have any locations here in Dallas that offer the same thing?
Not in Dallas. I'm not a big fan of Dallas for it, but I am a big fan of Austin for it. I'm actually very actively looking for my next property to do exactly that. My goal is to buy one more in 2024 to do exactly that, because that model has worked out really well. So we will be doing a couple things this year. We will be opening up a joint venture program to go invest in these properties, because we're finding that when we go into bigger properties to do exactly this, huge returns, right? Let's say, I put in an offer on a property 2 weeks ago, and the purchase price was about 2.25 million, but I expected, my underwriting showed me that that property would generate somewhere between $500,000 and $600,000 in revenue a year. So the margins and the profitability is amazing. So even on the short-term rental, we're taking things to the next level. I've had great success with it. I have a phenomenal team on the ground, and I've had several people approach me and say, can we do a joint venture, man? Listen, I don't have the know-how, the knowledge, the marketing, the systems, or the team on the ground, because that requires a good, solid team on the ground, right? I don't have any of it. I'd love to invest the money. I want to work with you. I said, I'm not ready for that yet. So we will, in the second half of this year, we're going to launch this joint venture program. It's going to be a small, no more than 4 investors per deal kind of a program. And essentially bring in the investors, go invest in this, show them these returns, and go invest in multiple properties like this. So that's our goal for the second half of this year.
That's interesting. I'd love to know more about that when that happens. So I'm sure you're probably gonna have a waiting list of people that are going to be interested in that.
Yeah, and again, it's there's only so much you can do at a time. It works out really well for people in the second half, because the joint venture will allow them to take a big tax write-off as well, the way it is being structured, and then they don't have to worry about managing it next year. We're managing it, we're doing all of the operations, we're doing all the stuff, right? So there's a benefit to doing it in the second half versus the beginning of the year. Because if you do it in the beginning of the year, you as a joint venture partner who's going to be taking that tax write-off will be forced to show all year of material participation versus a couple months in the second half. So that's why we timed it to go in the second half.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely would be interested in learning more.
Absolutely.
I think with this, I'm gonna follow you. I I really appreciate your time, because I know like I said, time is important. And the way you spend your time is, financial, location, relational. I want to have those freedoms, but I think that you're absolutely capitalizing on that right now and doing the things that you want to do and being able to travel. So yeah, I'd love to learn more.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, so where to find me. I do appreciate your time. I really hope I've been able to give you some value today to help you think a little differently, think with a different lens. A lot of people don't like short-term rentals, but hey, you know what? I'm doing it. I think it's changed my life, and I would love to be able to change your life with it, right? So that's the way I look at it. And now that brings us to that final freedom, which we didn't talk about. We're missing one freedom, which is called the impact freedom. And this has been my impact today, where I've gotten you to think about things a little different. I have the ability to impact other people's lives to the extent that I want, right? And I do that through this coaching that we're doing. I do that through working with a lot of people. Like I said, I've coached several people, dozens of people right now. And that's the impact I'm creating. And that's what I'm so grateful for. So I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on this podcast today. And I would love to have a further follow-up conversation with you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. I really appreciate your time. I learned a lot. I actually took a few pages worth of notes. So you're absolutely providing value, and your expertise is tremendous. So very
Thank
excited
you.
to discuss and hopefully see you in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Ed.
Thank you for joining us on Vacation Rental Mastery. Don't forget to subscribe and tune in for our next episode, where the journey to financial freedom and lifestyle flexibility continues. Here's to your success in the exciting world of vacation rentals.